This is Plant-Based Briefing. I went plant-based, said goodbye to 100 pounds, prediabetes, and my CPAP machine. By Rick Thompson at forksoverknives.com. And I'm Marian Erickson, and this is the curated content plant-based podcast where I narrate a variety of articles on plant-based and vegan living with permission in about 10 minutes or less every weekday. And I do this because there are so many reasons to live a vegan or plant-based lifestyle. I came to it from the whole food plant-based health side of things. And then once I learned about the animals and the environment and antibiotic resistance and biodiversity loss and all these reasons, it just solidifies it. It's important, I think, to stay aware of all these reasons, especially the reasons with the animal exploitation and suffering, because it's so normalized in our society. It's easy to kind of forget, put it in the back of your mind. People who are ex-vegans or ex-plant-based eaters, I don't believe they could have really understood what is happening to the animals. Because once you know that and keep it in the forefront of your mind, how could you go back to living that lifestyle again, where you know you're abusing others needlessly? I remember hearing an animal rights activist on a podcast. Back when I first went whole food plant-based, I was binging whole food plant-based podcasts to learn how to eat and cook and live this way. And they would sprinkle in guests talking about the environment and talking about animal rights. And I was horrified as I started learning this information. But I was also kind of surprised. This animal rights activist mentioned that he watches footage of animal farming, animal exploitation, animal slaughter, animal abuse. He watches it regularly, and he even watches it on silent when he's doing these podcasts because it just keeps him motivated. Out of sight, out of mind is a real thing. So that's why I started this podcast, because there are so many reasons, and staying on top of them and keeping them all in the forefront is so important. And hopefully just 10 minutes a day, it motivates you to continue living a compassionate, healthy lifestyle, just like it motivates me. And I love sharing these success stories like the one you'll hear today from Forks Over Knives. I'm so glad to have permission to share their content. But these success stories are motivating as well. And now let's get to today's plant-based briefing. I went plant-based, said goodbye to 100 pounds, prediabetes, and my CPAP machine. By Rick Thompson at forksoverknives.com. Prior to starting my plant-based diet journey, I didn't think that a meal was truly a meal unless it contained meat. It would not have been unheard of for me to sit down and eat a pound of bacon in one sitting. In July 2020, I found myself sitting at 265 pounds. My clothes did not fit. I had been diagnosed with prediabetes. I needed to wear a CPAP machine to treat my sleep apnea. My body hurt, and I was generally depressed about how far I'd let myself go. As much as possible, I avoided catching a glimpse of myself in mirrors or being photographed. I knew I had to lose weight, and a lot of it, but the thought just overwhelmed me. Giving plant-based a try. One day, while I was looking for something to watch on TV, I came across the Forks Over Knives film. I thought that I might as well give that a try, since nothing else had worked. I'm an all-or-nothing type of person, so I dove headfirst into the transition. I immediately stopped eating meat, seafood, dairy, oil, and highly processed foods. Within a few weeks, I started experiencing pretty consistent weight loss, but what surprised me the most was how my body felt. I had lost weight in the past, but I always felt bad during the process. This was the first time that I actually felt better. Within the first week of transitioning, I noticed that my knees no longer hurt when I climbed the stairs. The swelling in my ankles went away. I had a much greater range of motion in my shoulders. It was at this point that I realized this would be how I live my life from now on. A brighter future. When I first started eating this way, I set a goal of losing 100 pounds, but I didn't set any deadline for myself. I decided that as long as I was making progress, it really didn't matter when I hit my target weight. Almost 2 years after I started eating a plant-based diet, I hit my goal the day before my son's wedding when I weighed in at 165 pounds. Eating a plant-based diet has most definitely changed my life. I can now see a future where before I really didn't. I've developed a real love of cooking and began gardening and growing some of my own food, which is just wonderful. I no longer need to wear a CPAP machine at night because I'm no longer being treated for sleep apnea. I feel better about the imprint I'm making on our planet by not eating animals, and I have much more energy now. When I started eating this way, I began to walk and found real joy in my time on the various trails. I'm now making plans to walk the 500-mile pilgrimage known as the Camino de Santiago in Spain. That has been on my bucket list for many years. There would have been no way I could have done this at my old weight. When people see me now after having not seen me for a few years, they're amazed at the physical transformation. When I tell them how I did it, I often hear things like, "Oh, I could never do that," or "I couldn't give up cheese." I tell them that I thought the same things, and that if I could do without, then I was positive they could as well. The thing that really helped me was to reframe how I look at things. Instead of dwelling on things that I had to give up, I concentrated on things that I was gaining: better health, delicious recipes, new clothes, and longevity. Transitioning to a plant-based diet has been one of the best gifts I could have ever given myself. You just listened to I Went Plant-Based, Said Goodbye to 100 Pounds, Prediabetes, and My CPAP Machine by Rick Thompson at ForksOverKnives.com. And I'm your host, Marian Erickson. And as I mentioned, we came to this lifestyle through a whole food plant-based journey as well. We had learned about the health benefits of it and the health detriments of eating dairy and eggs and flesh and whatnot. And we're just pleasantly surprised at the improvements in our health as well. And as always, I put a link to the original post in the show notes. And also in those show notes, I will link a couple of other episodes that touch on sleep apnea being cured. One is number 206, A Diabetes Diagnosis Shocked Me into Changing My Diet. The results have been incredible, by Miranda Haes at Forks Over Knives. And 531, From Being Denied Life Insurance to Losing 160 Pounds and Founding a Plant-Based Telehealth Organization, by Anthony Masiello at Love.Life Telehealth. So please share this episode with anyone who might benefit, and thanks for listening.